I was talking to a group of grade 3 students. They're about 8 years old. And I posed this question. Okay, you and your friends are going to see the latest Marvel movie and the theater is very full. Finally, you get the last 2 seats. Now, before the movie starts, here comes the question. Should the theater owner let in, say, another 200 people, even though there's no more room? Or maybe the owner could auction off the seats to the people with the most money. Supply and demand, kids. After all, this is business. But then you and your friends couldn't afford to go. The kids, they were not impressed with such foolish questions and soon went back to coloring. And yet, that mostly sums up the Canadian housing situation and our immigration policy. If my story makes no sense to 8-year-olds, what is going on? We may have to twist the lens and do a logic check on the housing situation. Immigration is critical to the Canadian economy, with 431,645 people coming in 2022 alone, most to the east and the rest to Vancouver. Now, this is good for the economy because consider that 100% of new job growth and 75% of population growth comes directly from immigration. In other words, we need all of these people. The problem is, housing inventory is very low, and only the wealthiest can ever hope to afford a home, especially in Toronto and Vancouver. So at this point, little Johnny would raise his hand and say, why would we bring in more people if they have nowhere to live? I mean, there's no more seats in the theater. Sounds like a skit from Sesame Street, one of these things. As polite Canadians, we speak of these issues most often in kind of hushed tones. However, for people like me in the business of real estate, the reaction to these policy decisions is anything but muted. Every day I hear anger and outrage as parents and grandparents try to help their families get into the market, and that anger is often focused on immigrants. In response, the best our elected officials could come up with, trying to appease the angry mobs, was banning foreign ownership for 2 years. Why? Because someone needed to be blamed for our troubles, even though such a policy is futile, hollow, and I would say racially incendiary. I will respectfully suggest that the housing crisis isn't a crisis at all. Instead, it's an easily solvable problem that only lacks political will and common sense. I mean, come on, Canada is the second largest country on earth, consists of about 9 million square kilometers, and even if you said half of it's frozen and uninhabitable, it's still a big place. Of all that land, only 11% is privately owned, 11%. The other 89% is not currently in use and held collectively by the tax-paying citizens as Crown lands. Now, Canada also has the 10th largest economy on the planet, so the kids would say we have plenty of land and we have plenty of money. Now, sure, I can hear the complaints about increased taxes, government overruns, etc., but let me pose this question. If the Toronto water supply became tainted and required an immediate $5 billion remediation so people didn't die, would we find the money? Of course. What about the cost of COVID or the opioid crisis? Let's not pretend that there isn't money available if we consider the cause to be critical to our collective well-being. So what is the real problem then? We have cheap land, we have lots of cash, and a vibrant immigration policy to fill the job market. This sounds awesome, and yet it's not. Well, why? Here's the hard truth. We don't care about the cost of housing, or we would address the problem easily. Our housing policies need to be designed by 8-year-olds. If people want to pay to see the movie, build more movie theaters. If supply and demand is the true issue with housing, build more houses, employ more people to build them, and increase real GDP. If density is too low, increase it with the stroke of a pen and cut the red tape of approvals in half. That's what the kids would do. I mean, second captain, first pick. The teams are always fair. I don't have a political bone in my body and no axe to grind with anyone. I mean, we pay our elected officials from all parties to implement the decisions that we want, not the other way around. If we truly want more affordable housing, the answers are easy and clear. Free up the land that we already own, put Canadians to work building inventory, add more density, and clear the red tape. Or stop complaining about prices. Just saying.